MAGA's favorite podcaster, Joe Rogan, just broke their hearts and triggered Elon Musk after he publicly acknowledged during an interview with rock star and philanthropist Bono that Musk's entire DOGE project has been a cruel failure. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, as you know, Joe Rogan is one of, if not the biggest podcasters in the world, although in some arenas, he's actually getting some pretty stiff competition from liberal podcasters Midas Touch. So shout out to Midas and in particular, Adam Mockler of the Midas Touch Network. I hope they continue to grow. Rogan is somebody whose politics is all over the place, and he seems like a well-intentioned guy, but is prone to conspiracy theories and flattery by the MAGA right. But he, during a recent podcast episode on the Joe Rogan Experience, where he was interviewing Bono, a legendary rock star, the lead singer of U2, a legendary philanthropist, during a conversation about the global implications of Musk's DOGE cuts, Joe Rogan made a stunning condemnation of the abject, cruel failure of DOGE, even though he agrees with what they tried to do.
But also, we help the world. And when you're talking about making wells for people in the Congo to get fresh water, when you're talking about food and medicine to places that don't have access, like, no way that should have been cut out. And that should have been clear before they make these radical cuts. Like, there's got to be a way to keep aid and not have fraud. And you can't say we're going to kill everything so that there's no fraud. But then you're killing all the good, and you're doing it without letting anybody know it's going to happen. So it's not like they had 3 years to prepare. Let's build a new infrastructure. Let's make sure that everything's set up. They wanted change, and they want to change quickly. And due to the nature of American politics, they have about 2 years before the midterms, right? So everything has to get done as quickly as possible. You have to show a growth in GDP. You have to show that the economy's booming again under these ideas. Make America first, tariffs for the world, bring back American manufacturing, and this mad rush to do it all as quickly as possible while cutting out as much waste as possible.
Yeah.
But the ironic thing is, even though Elon Musk has proposed all these things and the DOGE committee has proposed all these things, they've made no cuts in terms of the budget. They've cut nothing. They voted against
a tiny part.
So that's huge. That's a huge admission right there. So again, you can tell, and I disagree with Rogan's framing in the sense that he seems to think that waste, fraud, and abuse are major substantive issues in the federal government, despite there being no evidence to support that, number one. But number two, it's almost irrelevant because it makes his condemnation even harsher in the sense where he's like, guys, you had me. I agree with you. I agree with your unsubstantiated, unsupported claims of billions, trillions of dollars of waste, fraud, and abuse, and you still screwed this up spectacularly. The cruelty of cutting USAID, for example, as part of the DOGE cuts, which according to some studies, and Bono cited this during the conversation, has killed or will lead to the deaths of 300,000 people. And more on that in a second. He's like, there's the cruelty there. There was the stupidity of it. There was not allowing other agencies or other aspects, organs of the State Department compensate for this wholesale shredding of a really productive agency. But then that last part at the end, which I loved, he's like, and in terms of the fiscal responsibility, it's just not there. You've actually not cut anything. And I'll remind you that Elon Musk purported to cut $2 trillion. That's what he promised during the campaign trail. And I believe it was after Donald Trump won the election, but before Trump was inaugurated. He said he was going to cut $2 trillion from the federal budget. And then about a month later, he worked it down to $1 trillion. And then the most recent estimates are, maybe like $150, $160 billion. And all of that is being vaporized, as Joe Rogan points out at the end, by the House Republican budget, the one big beautiful bill that Trump is backing, which is why Elon Musk has criticized the one big beautiful bill. He's like, all these, like, the savings that Musk has purported to have, Trump just destroyed. So that's Joe Rogan, MAGA's favorite podcaster, saying, yeah, this thing has been an abject failure every which way. Musk was not happy about that interview with Bono. So as the LA Times reports, Elon Musk brands Bono a liar/idiot for telling Joe Rogan's DOGE USAID cuts have cost 300,000 lives. 0 people have died, Musk insisted, a claim that has been widely debunked by experts. Elon Musk did not mince words, calling U2 frontman Bono a liar and idiot for claiming that cuts by the Department of Government Efficiency to the U.S. Agency for International Development had killed hundreds of thousands of the world's most vulnerable people. The Irish musician stated during an appearance on the Joe Rogan Experience that a recent report, quote, suggests 300,000 people have already died as food rots, quote, in boats and warehouses as a result of DOGE's hard cut of funding to USAID. And this was the tweet. He's such a liar/idiot, facepalm. 0 people have died. Again, total bullshit. This has been debunked by experts. Elsewhere in the clip, Bono accurately stated that more than 50,000 tons of food are rotting in warehouses around the world, quote, rather than going to Gaza, rather than going to Sudan, because of cuts to USAID's global workforce. They're gone, Bono added before prompting Rogan to react. Quote, well, they're throwing the baby out with the bathwater, right? Rogan started. Quote, the problem is, for sure, there have been a lot of organizations that do tremendous good all throughout the world. Also, for sure, it was a money laundering operation. For sure, there was no oversight. For sure, billions of dollars are missing. In fact, trillions that are unaccounted for that were sent off into various, they don't even know where there are because there are no receipts. Again, Rogan is prone to the conspiracism and the unsubstantiated claims that these things were like elaborate multi-billion, multi-trillion-dollar money laundering schemes. No evidence to support that. And even he is saying this was wrong to do. Elon Musk went about this the wrong way. So again, just think about that. Somebody so MAGA adjacent, somebody who goes 99% of the way and still says, even if I grant you your absurd premises, you still fuck this up. That's a hell of a thing to say. Let's see. According to a Snopes investigation, the Department of Energy's Loan Programs Office, quote, lent or committed anywhere from $68 billion to $77 billion between November 5th, 2024 and January 20th, 2025. Joe Rogan claimed $93 billion, so again, he was off wildly on the figures. He's complaining about what President Biden did in terms of spending money and allocating resources after the election, but after the election, he's still president until January 20th. So, Joe, if you're watching, number 1, like and subscribe. Number 2, the sitting president still has the right to exercise his constitutional authorities even after an election until he leaves office. Sorry if that bothers you. 300,000 figure cited by Bono comes from a model of estimating the human cost of DOGE's cuts to USAID, developed by Brooke Nichols, a mathematician and infectious disease professor at Boston University. The Washington Post backed Nichols' finding, reporting that roughly 96,000 adults and 200,000 children have died due to foreign aid cuts under the Trump administration. This administration is just objectively evil and malicious in a way we've simply never seen before. It's true, and probably any American administration, simply due to the scale and scope of the American government's ability to influence the rest of the world, there's no doubt that under any administration and every administration, great evil has been done. Under the Biden administration, Trump administration, Obama administration, et cetera, and so forth. But there's a level of maliciousness that is unprecedented here with particularly even the second Trump administration. The first Trump administration was also malicious, but I would argue in so many respects it's considerably worse. They're doing this deliberately on purpose to try to own the libs, to try to stick it to progressives, to try to stick it to Democrats. 300,000 people, including 200,000 children that you deliberately killed. And for what? Again, there was no considerable savings. These savings that Musk purports to have been vaporized by Trump, which is why Musk has been publicly criticizing, one of many reasons, Musk has been publicly criticizing the One Big Beautiful Bill. So these 200,000 kids who shouldn't have died in the first place died for nothing, which adds another layer of cruelty on top of it. And USAID represented a fraction, I think it was like 0.5% of the federal budget. I'm sorry. This is just not where you go to try to trim waste, fraud, and abuse and to slim the size of the government, make it more efficient. They would have had a much better argument going after the defense budget. Then you could say, okay, there's a colorable case here. But they didn't. They deliberately went after things that were philanthropic and humanitarian in nature because they are a deliberately cruel organization. And I don't know if this is a sign that Joe Rogan is distancing himself from Trump and Musk. It wouldn't surprise me if he's back up their ass, next week. But I think it says something, given his influence and reach, that he has recognized that DOGE has been an abject failure in terms of its cruelty and also in terms of its purported fiscal ambitions. And I have no doubt that that's going to piss Elon Musk off even further. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.